What's up, everyone? It's the Autistic Scyther here, and this is part 6 of black people in video games, or black characters in video games. First 5 parts up on my channel, so I suggest you watch those first, then come back for part 6. And by the looks of it, there might be a part 7, so yeah, stay tuned. That being said, we're almost done with the RPG aspect of this. But we got one more RPG, and as you already know, it is one of my favorite RPGs ever since it came out. Pokémon. And yes, we are almost at the 30th anniversary, just only on, because Pokemon Day is on Friday, baby! So yeah, you know there's gonna be some more to come. But that being said, Pokemon has had a lot of black characters. Also a lot of few characters who may seem like they're autistic, but that might be for another day. Wink wink, nudge nudge, say no more. But anyway, that being said, oh boy. Honestly, what better way to start than Pokemon and Generation 1, which basically doesn't have that many black characters. I mean, we have Bruno, but his skin's literally lightened since the first generation, so we can't go with that. So, that just leaves us with the only character that could be considered black, as in Brock, that being Brock. And for anyone who has played Pokemon Red and Blue on the original Game Boy, yeah, you wouldn't know him to be black. And even when we got to Game Boy Color, you still wouldn't know he's black. But that being said, largely enough, it's only obvious once we got to the anime, and of course, Fire Red and Leaf Green, where it became obvious that Brock is black. And honestly, kind of makes sense. As he's the Pewter City gym leader, he's basically known to be pretty strong. Because he talks about rock hard determination, being a rock type trainer. And in the anime, he takes care of his younger siblings all because his dad decided to just up and leave. And only to come back and just stay outside the outskirts of the city like a deadbeat. Yeah. And then came his mother, who... yeah, again, if I had a whole thing involving a scene from the Golden Girls, I would essentially use that scene, basically... it would have been a scene that mentioned about Stan's brother's wife, Stan Bornak's brother's wife not being dead, but being in a fat farm in Sarasota. But yeah, I don't have anything from the Golden Girls, so I can't show that. But take my word for it. But even with that, yeah, there's that. In fact, we wouldn't get another black character until Generation 5. Specifically, Pokemon Black and White. Now, this is kind of obvious because Unova is New York and New Jersey, so melting pot. But even with that, we ended up given the character of Lenora, who is honestly, basically, who is not only the normal type gym leader, but she's the director of the Nacrene Museum. And, yet another controversy! Oh joy! Yeah, if you already hadn't guessed, I mentioned how characters like Makalov from Fire Emblem's Teleus duology, Karn from Breath of Fire, and Masao or Mark from Persona 1 were controversial. But Lenora was basically censored between the Japanese and English releases of Black and White because of the mammy stereotype. And yeah, that wasn't the only controversy they had involving an unfortunate black stereotype, as the Pokemon Jinx had run afoul of that. And yeah, I'm not gonna go all in on Jinx, but just know I like Jinx as it is. And heck, I even like its original design, even with the controversy. Yeah, I'm the first black person that likes Jinx's obvious design. But that's neither here nor there. That being said, ironically, even though she wasn't introduced in Generation 5, Unova and Nacrene City gave us another character as of recently with Amaris, a member of the BB League, who is a Steel type user. And it's basically assumed that she is the daughter of Lenora and her husband Hawes. So yeah, it's a nice little continuation of all that. And honestly, I actually like the BB League because they're related to actually many different gym leaders from Unova themselves, which really says a lot. Possibly I might mention it in a future list. Who knows? And speaking of Elite Four, not the only one, as basically we were also introduced to Iris, who of course is the gym leader of Opaloosa City in Pokemon White, before becoming the champion in Pokemon Black 2 and White 2. And yeah, and ever since then the black floodgates were opened, and we got many different characters, including Grant in Pokemon X and Y, and arguably Olympia, but mainly Grant. Then came Sun and Moon, where almost everyone kind of fit the Hawaii aspect, but it gave us two characters who are considered black, in both Kiawe, the trial captain for the fire trial, and Olivia, the kahuna of Akala Island. And then comes Galar. And oh boy, if people went feral for Olivia, yeah, Gen 8 was when everyone came out on this one, because it gave us Nessa, who is a fan favorite gym leader of many a Pokemon fan, especially male Pokemon fans. And this is where Sword and Shield got a little interesting, because not only did they give us Nessa, but they also gave us Raihan. They also gave us characters like Raihan, Hop, the champion Leon, Chairman Rose, Peony, and his daughter Peonia. Now here's where it's kind of different. As both Raihan and Nessa obviously can be considered black. That's kind of the interesting thing. That being said, the other characters are kind of a little not so much. And there's some obvious reasons for that. Starting with the obvious reason being Hop and Leon, he focuses on Pokemon Legends Arceus or Pokemon Legends Arceus, which gave us the professor in that one, Professor Laventon. And according to his Pokedex entry for Cantonian Raichu, he basically mentions that it has enough electrical power to incapacitate a Copperajah from his home region. We learned in Sword and Shield that Copperajah were brought to Galar from another region. So it's only implied that perhaps maybe this region may be a region based on India, since Copperajah isn't basically based on an Indian elephant. And it's just only assumed that Professor Laventon may have been from that region, or at least from Galar via that region. And thus, this trickles down to Hop and Leon as well. And it's at that same region that we could see the same thing for Peony, Chairman Rose, and Peonia, who are basically all the same for that same reason. Especially since Chairman Rose and Peony have Copperajah as their aces. Also, Peony is also implied to be the father of Penny from Gen 9, and, you can see how that might also not work. But speaking of Pokemon Legends Arceus, we were also given the character of Iskin, who basically looks like if he was in a Pokemon Legends Arceus or Pokemon Legends Arceus anime, he would be voiced by Gary Anthony Williams, who is best known for voicing characters from the Boondocks and Black Dynamite. So, yeah. And finally, we have Generation 9, which honestly really was a big thing for black characters. As Scarlet and Violet not only gave us a Morris in the Teal Mask and Indigo Disc DLC, but they also gave us Rhyme, the Montenevera gym leader, and her sister Time, the math teacher of Naranja or Uva Academy. And it really does say a lot. And especially since Time was the former Montenevera gym leader. So, it really does say a lot. Also, I wish Rhyme in the Pokemon Horizons anime was voiced by either Queen Latifah or Regina King. Oh well. And finally, with Pokemon Legends ZA, you knew we were given my new favorite character, that being Jacynth. And honestly, even before getting Pokemon Legends ZA, I actually loved just everything involving Jacynth. And honestly, I'm just glad we got some representation in some further representation in Kalos. Also, her theme is a bop. I gotta say it. This will be continued in part 7. And we are getting close to the end. I could taste it. Don't even.